All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. All right. So today I will continue my containerization journey. All right. So this is 1, 2, 3 part number 5. All right. And there's a lot more to come for the coming weeks.
I think we need to update the dates on the EDM. I just
Mm.
realized we passed the dates.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
We have a new one.
Yeah. I actually have a new one. Sorry. Forgot to
Awesome.
update the slide. Okay, this is a new one. All right. So it will be 3 series, 3 different days on for this month, and I will have a new plan for June as well, and then it will become later. All right. So let me share my screen. Everyone, all can see the screen.
Mhm.
All right. So this basically is the path, right? The journey that uh, I will go through, right? So this has a little bit of changes made, right? Uh, a couple of weeks ago, we completed the concept sharing, as well as there's a simple 1 hour plus hands-on lab is being created. Right? So for the subsequent 3 different area, I have made some new arrangement. Right? So I will be more focused on the sharing on the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? Where Microsoft and Linux actually are married together with the subsystem for Linux. And next week, I will create a simple hands-on lab for going through the step on installing the Windows subsystem for Linux in Windows 11 environment, right? So followed by uh, the sharing on the Kubernetes as well as local container registry, right? So this is some small changes made for the journey that we're going to share. I'm going to share. Right. So let's start with some simple concept. This is just to as a summarize for the sharing of the past few couple of weeks. Right. So basically, we talk about what is container. Right. So traditional virtual machine is the hardware virtualization. Right. And container is actually the operating system virtualization. Right. Apart from that, uh, we have Windows Server and as well as Linux container. Right. And all of them can actually run with isolation mode. Right. And on top of that, we can also run the container on a virtual machine uh, in a nested environment. Right. So let's move forward. Right. So last week and the weeks before, right, we also talk about how we enable the machine to become a container host, to host the container as well as interacting with the container file. Right? So basically, we're going through the steps of installing the container service, the Hyper-V, right, the component in the Windows, and enabling the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? And do some updates for the subsystem. Right. After that, we're actually installing the Docker desktop as well as the dock station, and how we actually gone through a series of experience on pulling and spin up the container. Right. So basically, on this step number 2, where we actually turn on the feature for Windows subsystem for Linux and perform uh, the updates for the WSL2, right? This update is basically for better compatibility as well as performance of the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? So once this component is being activated, installed, and the machine is ready to run the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? Especially in the area where you can download different distribution, like Kali Linux, like Ubuntu Linux, for the official store, right? And install it, and it will run seamlessly with your system, right? So this basically is some of the simple steps of the installation. Right? So with the container component, the Hyper-V component, right? The Windows subsystem for Linux component, right? As well as the updates. Right? This is some of the the URL for the Windows subsystem together with the update file. Right? So once the component is being installed, has been installed, we will actually go to Microsoft Store, right, and search for the distribution that we want, right, like Kali, like Ubuntu, and so on. So once the distribution has been downloaded, we will continue for installation, and this is how the installation screen looks like. Right. So far, any question up to here? Before we jump into some demo, and also I show you the live demo on how to install it.
I actually posted a couple of questions in the chat window. See who knows the answer.
Oh, wow. Oh, the name was quite interesting. Hopefully someone know the answer. All right. So let's continue. I got some simple questions to ask. Right. So where can we download and install a different type of Linux distribution into the Windows subsystem for Linux? Right. So feel free to share your answer into the chat window. Right. So is it A, Microsoft Store, B, Linux official site, or C, Docker Hub, or all the above? I think the answer is very obvious, right? So you can actually download the distribution from all the three above location. Right. So let's move forward. All right, so this is my desktop where I have the Windows subsystem running. And in this example, I have my Kali Linux running and perform some administration job, right? And this is running on Windows 10 machine, right? So while on Windows 11, right? So I can also do the same thing, right? With the interaction with the snap layout, I can actually position them accordingly, right? Thanks, Noah, on the sharing. Right? So I will walk you through on how I actually interact with the Windows subsystem with a simple demo, right? Before I go into the step on walk through the installation step required. Right? So let's begin. Right? So this is one of my testing environment. It's running on Windows 11. Right? So you can see here, I have a virtual desktop that is running. One of the virtual desktop, I actually have my Windows subsystem X window running. This is the Kali Linux X window, where I can actually interact with the X window inside. And of course, I have my Windows 11 browser working. This is just to show you that how I can actually interact with different windows by using the step layout provided by Windows 11. Here I have my Ubuntu terminal running, and at the same time, I also have my Kali Linux terminal running. Right. So from here, I can actually run some administrative command. Right. Like example here, I can run the mnet, right, to scan the service in my network, right. Let me see. So this is the mnet command, right? So I can scan a particular service in the network and actually get to know what are the ports that is running, right? And those ports are opening for what purpose. Right? So this is one of the capability on the tools that provided by Kali Linux, where you can actually scan a particular host machine in the network for the port that is being opened. Right? So this is just some of the example. There's a lot more you can do with Kali Linux, right? And at the same time, I wanted to show you how I actually interact between Windows subsystem, right? By using some of the applications that are available in my Kali Linux window. Right? For example, I have one photo that I wanted to do some editing, right? So I actually opens up the GMIP, right? The graphic editing tools directly from Windows. Right? This application is actually installed in the Linux system, right? Because of the newer version of Windows subsystem for Linux, you can actually integrate those applications that are available from the Linux system and call them up and use them directly from your Windows 11 environment. Right? So in this example, I'm actually using the GMIP application that's installed in the Windows system to edit this particular photo. Right? So this is very interesting way of how we liberate the application that is available in these two different platforms. Right? So you can see how I use this application to edit the photo that is inside my Windows system. Right? So after the editing is done, so I just save it, right, and export it to a file that I'm going to use later. Right? So here you can see how these two different systems actually integrating and talking to each other for the file system level. Right? So this is how it works seamlessly, and how they actually working together within the same platform. Right? So the file is being edited. So I'm going to use it as a background for my PowerPoint as an example. So from here, I can actually navigate to the file system and take a file that is been edited just now by using the photo editing software that is from the Linux system. Right? So this is one type of the interaction between these two different platforms. Right? On top of that, with the latest version of this Windows subsystem for Linux, you can, in Windows 11, you can also search those applications that is available in the Linux system. For example, the dictionary, right? So in Windows 11, there's no dictionary apps to install, right? But after I turn on the Windows subsystem for Linux and I install the Ubuntu, I can call up the dictionary application that is available from the Ubuntu system directly from my Windows, right? I can even search it from the start menu, as you can see here. After the dictionary, I can actually call up the calculator from the Ubuntu. I can even run the Firefox web browser from the Ubuntu. Right? So I can even run some of the games that is available in the Linux system. Apart from that, because I have two different distributions installed in my system, one is Kali Linux, one is Ubuntu Linux. So I can call up different type of calculator. For example, just now the gray color one is from Ubuntu. This dark color one is actually from Kali Linux. Right? So this is some of the example how we actually interact in between the Windows as well as within the Windows and the Linux via this Windows subsystem for Linux. Right? So apart from that, I can also use the Windows subsystem for Linux to actually host the container. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I actually show how to use the Docker desktop in Windows 11 platform to search the container and download it, right? We call it pulling, and spin up from the Windows 11 machine via the Docker Manager, right? And how we actually interact with the container itself, right? So here, so this is the Docker Manager that I installed in the Windows system, right? But what about for Linux system? Can I also do the same thing inside the Linux system, right? So the answer is yes, right? So by having the Windows subsystem running in the Windows system, right, you can actually activate the you can actually install a different distribution of Linux into your machine. You can also able to activate the X window for a particular the Linux distribution. For this example, I have installed the X window environment for my Ubuntu. This is Kali Linux, right? And I can actually use this X window environment to spin out the Docker Manager in Linux. Right? In this scenario, I'm using the Schematic. Right? The Schematic is one of the tools that look very similar like Docker Manager in Windows environment, where you can actually searching for the container, right? Uh, and also pull it down, right? It looks similar with the Docker Manager, right? Where you can actually search for it and do some downloads, right? As well as spin it up and interact with the container that has been spin up, right? So this is just some of the example. All right. So I'm not going to talk too much of this. All right. Let's go straight into some of the live demo that I wanted to show you. Right. So far, any questions before I go into the live demo in showing you how I actually install the Windows subsystem for Linux in Windows 11. Right. All right. So let's continue. So this is my Windows 11 environment. Right. So I will go through a step-by-step on how I actually turn on the Windows subsystem and how I actually download and install the Linux distribution, and how I actually use a command prompt to interact with the Windows subsystem. Right? So first of all, I need to turn on the container service, right? As well as the Windows subsystem for Linux features. Right? So basically, I need to go to this add and remove component screen. It called turn Microsoft Window on and on. Right? And I need to enable the container services. Right? Hyper-V service. This is for the running the container and the Windows subsystem running in a isolated mode. Right? And also the Windows subsystem for Linux. Right? So as simple as that, I just need to install to enable these three different components from in Windows. Right? So after that, I just click OK. So the window will actually download and apply the component, the module that require for me to install those features. Right? So you need to restart the machine. Let's hold on for a while. Any questions so far? Have anyone tried the Windows subsystem for Linux in your environment before?
Cool. Maybe you want to explain why would they want to try Windows subsystem for Linux?
For me, as I'm the system administrator, I would like to explore different capability that provided for different type of system. So maybe some of you are very interested in trying different type of platform. Like someone may like to use Mac OS,
Or maybe they want to do some hacking.
Well, for your own experiment, I think know how to do so, right? Like by installing Kali Linux, it actually provided quite a lot of penetration tools, those network scanning tools, port scanning tools,
Yep.
for the capability on this kind of network traffic monitoring. Quite interesting actually.
Danny here from
Yeah,
Microsoft.
Danny.
So,
Yes.
Hey, Danny.
one of the reasons why Microsoft is going into Linux is because of the of the edge itself, because there are a lot of IoT devices, containers, Kubernetes, and stuff like that are all tightly coupled with Linux. And the newer platforms or newer applications are mainly Linux based.
Yeah, definitely. That some of the IoT, not even the IoT device, like some of the sensor, right, and even the print server, for example, they are actually on a very lightweight Linux platform.
Linux, yeah.
Yes, and we can actually use, for example, the MNP protocol, right, or some of the protocol to actually interact or monitor those sensor or those IoT devices. I think this is some of the area that where we actually like to explore more, and especially on these different type of platform to get more understanding on that area. All right, thanks, Danny. All right,
Okay.
let's continue. All right, so after I have enabled the Windows Subsystem for Linux feature, I will need to install the update as well. Right, so this is the update that, yes.
I will check with you. How is the performance? Let's say we use the X terminal, X window, to fire another application from another Unix or Linux machine.
For example,
No, see, this time you install there's the X window, right? X terminal, right?
you mean the recording
Yeah.
that I showed you just now? Yeah,
So,
that is actually I install the X window
yeah,
module. Yeah.
because X window allows the application file from another server, another Unix machine or Linux machine. So what I
Yes.
mean, like, this X window run on this Windows server, then from there you fire another application from another Unix machine. So the performance will be okay, right? Or you'll be slow.
Okay. To be honest, it may require more memory. In my scenario, my system actually have 16 gig of RAM.
Uh-huh.
Alright. So, uh, in some of my exploration and experimental testing, with minimum 8 gig of RAM will make the X window running more smoother.
Okay. I mean, you
Yeah,
need more resources.
yeah. You actually need a bit of memory.
Your 8
Depending
gig is
on
the, sorry, your 8 gig is the physical or virtual?
physical. Actually, Windows subsystem by default, it doesn't provide how to say that. It actually share the memory from your host machine.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So both system is actually running seamlessly at the same time, and it actually share the same CPU, share the same memory environment.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Okay. Thanks.
Alright. So let's continue. So in my experience, I actually because I install quite a lot of application into the X window, so I actually require more memory in order to make it running smoother. So after the installation, I will install the update for the WSL. This is an update for the 64-bit processor. as well as some patching for the WSL version 2. Right? This update will actually improve a lot of in terms of compatibility and performance. Right? Before this update, right, I actually faced a lot of issue where the Windows subsystem for Linux actually crashed, especially with the X window running. Right? The X window actually not running how is it very smooth. Some of the time it will actually crash with my graphic driver. So with this version 2 update, they actually run much smoother, and the performance is much better in terms of the interaction of the driver, the hardware driver. So the installation is done, right? And then now there's one command that actually need to be done in a PowerShell, where actually we need to turn Windows subsystem into a version 2. Right? So this is what the simple. This is just a simple command. So what basically this command does is it actually tell the window, it actually update the default startup version of this Windows subsystem to version 2. Right? So if you are not executing this command, it will actually running on the default version, which is version 1. Right? So just now we'll actually install the patches and also the update for version 2. Right? So what we need to do is we need to execute a command to actually ask this to require this Windows subsystem for Linux to run in version 2 by default. Right? So it's done. So as simple as that. So it's the Windows subsystem now is running on version 2, right? By default. The default version has been changed to a version 2. Right? So what we need to do now is we just need to go to Microsoft Store. And we search for the Linux distributor. From here, you have a lot of options. Right? You have Kali Linux, you have Ubuntu, right? And you have CentOS as well, so open source as well. Right? So in this example, I will use the Kali Linux. Right? So what I need to do is I select it and click on the Get button. Right? So it will basically start to download this Kali Linux distro from Microsoft repository, right? It takes a little bit of time, so it will start downloading. The size is about 100 plus. No, yeah, you can see here it's actually 197 megabyte. It's wait for a while while it's installing. Sorry, this is just downloading. Later on, once I click on open, it will start to install. Right, so the downloaded package is ready, and I will click on open, and it will start to perform the installation. Right.
Cool.
So once
Cool. Have you seen
Yes.
the Microsoft Linux available?
Let me see. The name is actually called Marino, right?
Doesn't look like it.
Not this one, right?
No.
No.
It looks, the icon looks a bit like it. Right?
Yeah.
Try CBL.
Yeah.
CBL.
Yeah. This guy still came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks the icon looks a little bit like that, except it doesn't have the word Swabi inside. See.
It's like it's not
CDL.
available for in the Microsoft Store yet.
Mm.
Maybe you can download it independently from Docker Hub or GitHub.
Mm. Yes, from GitHub, I think it's there.
Yeah, I think there's also a copy in the Docker Hub as well. This is no, since it's not available yet. This guy really look alike. Huh? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once the installation is completed, it will require the user to create a user account. Right. This is a Linux user account. For example, I will create a account called Kali Amin. Right. And we will start to perform the user account creation and the password. Right. Here you go. Right. So you are basically enable the Windows subsystem for Linux, and at the same time you have your Kali Linux distribution. The Kali Linux installed in your Windows 11 machine. Right? So far up to this stage, any questions so far? So this is a completely running Linux environment, right, where you can interact with it. Right? So by turning on the Windows subsystem for Linux, right, you can interact with the subsystem via the PowerShell. You can also interact it via the Windows terminal. Yeah, you see. You can press the sign here. You can have your Kali Linux terminal shell actually running here. Right? Right? So it's basically the same. Right? All right, so far okay. Now let's continue. Right, and first thing I need to do is I need to clear the screen. Right, so in Windows you type CLS, right? In Linux you need to type clear. Right, it's the thing. So first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to enable the root account and put a password for my root account. It's a same scenario where after you install your Windows 11, your Windows client, right, you need to activate your local administrator account, and you also provide a password for the local administrator account, right? So the same scenario in Linux, in this Windows subsystem for Linux environment. After I install the Linux, and I also need to activate the root account and provide the password for it, right? That I would. Right. All right. So once the account is activated, I can actually log in the terminal by using the root account. Right. So this is the similar scenario in Windows client where we activate the local administrator account and we log in as a local administrator account. Right. So this is just some of the example. I actually have the black guide on this, and all you will have a chance to actually go through all this process, right, by following the guide that I actually created. Right. So from here, what I wanted to do is I wanted to download and install the X Windows subsystem, the X Windows system for my Kali Linux, right? So that I will have the subsystem running side by side in my Windows 11 machine. Right. So what I need to do is I need to do some updates, right? Just like the window updates, right? So after you install the window, you need to do some window updates, right? So this is basically the same, right? Just like I need to execute it from via the power command prompt, right? The terminal prompt, right? So this one to so once the window something like the Linux update is performed, I will need to do some installation in the door package, right? So so this I will actually install this Kali window X window system package, right? So you will go to internet to check all the required file for me and install the file for me, right? This will take a little bit of time. So while it's doing the downloading and installation, right? And I would like to go through some Linux related quizzes together with all of you, right? So let's get run here. So let's start with our simple quiz. All right. So I wanted to know any of you have any experience on knowing what is this 127.0.0.1. Right. So this address is basically for what purpose? Is it A? This is actually the address for the internet service provider, or B is actually the address for the on system, which is a local machine, or C is the address for Windows, or D is the address for Linux. I think Lee already have a very good answer. It's actually the address for the local system. Just like you have an address for your home, right, for your house. Right? And this 127.0.1, right, .0.0.1 is actually the default address for your own machine. Normally, we will call it localhost. Right. Next question. What is Lilo? Right. So, right. What is Lilo? This is a very important terms in Linux environment. Right. Is it a friend of sticks, or friend of Milo, or Linux bootloader, or is actually a command for Windows Subsystem for Linux, or is nothing to do with anything? Right. So the answer is very obvious. Yes, no?
Is it obvious?
Sorry?
I think I like A better.
I wish to, but it actually represent it's actually the short form for the Linux bootloader. Just like we have a Windows bootloader, right? This is the Linux bootloader. Just like the Lilo is a short form for the Linux bootloader. Hold on for a while. I see whether how is that. Okay. Need to do some selection here to confirm the keyboard. Okay, the installation continue. Sorry. Okay, let's come back. Sorry, the answer is not A. Thank you very much. All right, some interesting question again. What is the command that we normally use to check the memory usage in Linux? So I just wanted to ask all of you, how do you check the memory usage in Windows system? By calling out the task manager, right? So that is in Windows. So what about in Linux? Right. Oh, Lee said D, right? Unfortunately, the answer is actually C. Right? It's a program called Top. Right? Top is a program that looks similar like Task Manager. I can show you an example of this. All right, so this is my another machine with a Kali Linux installed. Right, so for Windows, you can always call up the task manager like this, right? And you can see the memory usage, the CPU usage, everything, right? All the resources usage within your Windows system, right? So this is task manager. But for Linux machine, or even in Unix machine, there is actually a command called top. So top is basically same like a task manager. Right? It will show you all the application, all the services, the active services. Right? It's just like this. It's actually the same thing. Right? The services, the active services that is running at the background, right? Or even at the front ground, right? And how many memory or CPU that particular service is being used. Right? The service is in up for how long, right? What is the resources that is really taken. Right? So this is a command that actually call up this particular program to show the utilization of the resources. Right? So it's actually called top. Right? Okay, now. Right? So the program is called top, T-O-P. Right? The free minus M is actually to show you some information regarding the memory usage, the memory, the application. It's different from showing the usage of individual program. Right? It actually show you the available memory, the total memory, and the free memory available. It doesn't show you the active services or application, and also the resources that is being used in real time. Right? The top will show you exactly like what the task manager show you, right? The real time resource usage, right? And the free minus M will only show you the memory size, the use, and also the free memory size. Right? So this is the difference. Right? This is the difference between the free minus M and top. Right? And M dash L, unfortunately, it's not actually a command. It's don't have this command. Right? And this Control Shift Escape is actually the shortcut for Task Manager. Right? Let me see.
Okay.
Right? You learn something?
Yes. So who knows what is swap?
Which one?
So who knows what is swap?
You mean top?
No, swap. See, you go back to your window just now. I see something called swap at the bottom.
You mean this one?
Yeah, I see swap 1024.
Oh, you mean this one, yeah?
Yes.
This
So
is
what
a
is swap?
very important partition in Linux environment.
It's the temporary virtual memory, temporary storage.
Yes, correct. You are right. You are right. It's a temporary virtual memory, just like the paging file. We call it paging file. In Windows
Page
environment.
file, you mean?
Yeah,
page file.
Yes. Actually, this is the one. I think it should be here. Where is the system setting? This one. So this is a swap. So this is in Windows environment. This is in Linux environment. As you can see here, the default setting is 25% of the physical memory allocated. So I have 4 gig of RAM. The swap file is actually set in 1 gig, which is 35%. All right.
So is that extra on top of the 4 gig, is it?
It actually created a partition, just like this page file.
But the page file is not a partition though. The page file is actually a file.
For Linux, it actually sit at a place. I think maybe Lee can actually tell me where is it already.
What is that again? Sorry.
SOP is a
It's a file system. It's a system. It's a direct folder.
it's a
No.
directory, right?
Yes, yes. It store all the temporary file. It's something like virtual memory, temporary.
Yeah, it created as a partition.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
It's not a file
partition.
system, huh?
Yeah, it's part of the partition structure. Right. Just like
It's a
a drive
Linux.
C, drive D for Linux, there's a root folder called this one. This is the root partition, right? And there's another partition called SOP. Well, I forgot
So
how to call the
in
SOP
Linux, they
partition.
don't have C drive, D drive. All the folder is file system. No, the file system. No, the drive.
Yeah.
So this swap is like an extra partition, like a hidden partition in Linux.
Yes, it's a hidden partition.
It's
Okay.
a system partition. It's a required one. It cannot be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot how to call it up already. I have a way to actually go into this SOP partition.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a way. I forgotten the command also.
Yeah, there is a command where you can actually go into the SOP partition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It makes sense because the page file in Windows is actually a file.
Yeah.
It's in the root of the C drive. It's a hidden file.
Yes. In Linux environment, it's actually a folder. We can say that you just think of it's a partition, and it also can be mounted as a folder as well, and you can access it. You can see the thing inside. What is the temporary file or
Cool. I think
that is being
it's like
created.
cd/dev/swap. I think that's the
Sorry.
cd
Yeah.
slash dev device.
Oh, DEV SOP.
I think this is the one. No. It depends.
Maybe because I'm not
different-
the root. That's I cannot.
Yeah. Because different Linux they have a different naming convention.
Yeah. Let's see whether this guy done already or not. Not yet. 47. Wait. Continue with the question. And this one will become experiment better. All right, let's continue. All right, while waiting for the X window to be complete. All right. So what is the help command for Linux? Right, for Windows, we can always press the F1, yeah?
Help.
Right.
Help. Man.
Yeah.
Woman.
For Linux, is man.
The person who developed Linux is is sexist, eh?
No. It's actually a short form for manual.
Yeah. Okay.
So any command or any particular parameter that you want to learn to know more, just like normally we type something / right? In Linux, you just type a man and followed by the command that you want. Just like the PowerShell, you can always type help about the PowerShell command.
So what happens when you type man space woman?
I don't know. Let's try.
Try man space man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Man space
Man.
Space man.
Okay. You got something?
There you go. Yeah.
It came up with an explanation about this man command.
Yep. Interface to the system reference manual.
Manual pager utility. Okay, what? So let's try woman.
You know, it might say don't be sexist.
No. Because they don't have woman this command.
Yeah, so I thought it might say don't be sexist. Yeah.
Okay.
No menu entry for women. Okay.
Okay. This is really interesting. Alright. Okay, continue. How is the installation? Okay. Oh, 85, almost there. Okay, continue couple of questions. One more very interesting one. What is the command used to show the person who log into the current station? Is it help? Or is it which? Or who? Or who am I? By the way, is anyone know what is the command to show the current user, the current station user in Windows?
I think it's the same as the Linux one, right?
No.
Who am I?
Yeah, right. Who am I? Yeah. So once you type
Who
who am
also
I,
want a command, right?
sorry?
Who also want a command, right?
Yeah, who am I is
Who?
the DOS command. This is the window command. This is my
No,
window
who?
machine. Yeah, for
W
Linux,
O?
it's actually who. Ah, you mean Windows also got who?
No,
Okay.
no. Who am I?
Yeah.
Is there a command in Linux called who?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. What does it do?
To showing the current user.
WHO?
Yeah.
Nothing happened, Ko.
That is.
Oh, my that's all.
Yeah,
Show
because
who is logged on.
I'm already logged in as me, so it only show me.
I see.
Is it just like
Okay.
this command, right?
Okay.
So, who?
I didn't
Then
see anything.
it show
Yeah.
Kali.
Okay.
Alright.
Looks like just return you back to the same prompt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
So is there a command called who am I in Linux?
Good question. Let's try. Yes,
Same.
you're right.
Mm.
Oh, okay, learn something today.
I thought my 20-year-old class.
Wow, man, so many years of using Linux, I didn't know that who am I also work in Linux.
Yeah, I think it's a Unix command. I remember it's a Unix command.
Normally I just type who.
And I think
Just now I thought you type in like this now.
DOS borrowed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, some correction needed. Right. So actually
You got two answers.
yeah, you have
You
two
have two
answers.
answers.
Two answers, right? Who and who and
Who and who am I? Right. Thanks for the correction. Okay, it's done. All right. Let's start the S window before we wrap up. All right. So once the module is installed, sorry, too many screens. But once the module is installed, I can start the X window. Right. Sorry, this is something different from Windows, where the window will actually start the X window by default. For Linux, you need to do quite a lot of work in order to get the window to start the X window by default. So normally we will need to start the X window from command prompt. Right.
Reminds me of Windows 1.0. You boot up into DOS. You boot up into DOS and then you type Win, and then Windows come up.
All right. So here you go. All right. So this is the X window for my Kali Linux.
Very nice.
The power management module doesn't work. So this is because this is a nested environment. It can't communicate with the hardware layer or to look for the power management module. So this is how I can actually interact with the X window of this Kali Linux. Right? Or you want to run some application.
Interesting. What is that picture? Is it like a seahorse? This Kali
It's a
Linux
dragon.
logo, is it like a dragon? I thought it's a seahorse.
Kali Linux is a dragon. So this is how it works, right? For the X window that's running in the Windows subsystem for Linux, and this is actually running side by side with my Windows 11. Because it's actually occupied in full screen, you need to press the F5, the F8. Actually turn off the full screen mode. Right. So it becomes smaller, and you can resize it.
Do you think there is a version of Edge that can run in Kali Linux?
Yes, you are right. There is an Edge version.
Wow. Interesting.
There's an Edge for Linux. Just like you need some command to install it, because it's a Debian, Linux Debian package. Yeah. Right? Oh,
interesting.
And this is the beta version. Actually, there is a full official version for Linux.
Yeah, because you're looking at the insider channel, that's why. Somehow it's taken you to the insider channel. There you go.
Yeah.
I think is that the RPM file?
RPM file is for $3. Different file type actually is the installer for different type of Linux system.
Okay, got it. Wow, there's so many different versions. I didn't realize that.
For RPM is for social Linux and Red Hat related Linux, like Fedora, and the other one is what dollar already.
Don't know.
Quite a few. Fedora is the one that I normally use, apart from CentOS. Right. So this is the HoloLens also can install Edge.
Wow.
Wow, interesting. There's also Edge for Android, right? I think all you know. Right. So this is pretty cool. Right. And while you are inside the Edge window, the task manager is something like this. You don't need to call the top. This is a GUI version of top.
Not bad. Very nice.
Side by side. So you also call task manager, is it? Interesting, huh? So this is how two different platforms actually work side by side seamlessly.
Yep. Very cool.
I actually have the lab guide on for the hands-on lab on how to turn on all this. Right. So this basically is the content for the lab. Right. For lab 1, you will install the Windows subsystem for Linux component. For lab 2, you will start to download and install the Linux. And the lab 3, you will install the Kali Linux as window. Right. And the lab 4 is to guide you through, to walk you through how you interact with the Kali Linux as window, and how do you actually running them side by side, something like this. Because there is another mod called seamless mod, where you actually have your window toolbar. Window toolbar is actually at the bottom of the screen, right? While you're running the Kali Linux X window in seamless mode, there is a Kali Linux toolbar on top of the screen. So you have two bars. One toolbar for Windows. The other toolbar is actually on top of the screen for Kali Linux.
Wow, it's totally confused.
Something like this. Right? Your start bar is here, right? The Kali Linux bar is here. Something like this. Yeah, but this is not still not the integrated mode. Huh? You see, that it's still within a window frame. Right. So if I configure the X window to be in seamless mode, it become a bar. It become a start bar here, a taskbar here, on top of here, something like this. So you can
Well,
always
this is a,
hold it up.
it's a totally confused operating system now. It doesn't know whether it's Windows or Linux.
It's both.
Yeah.
Right. And do remember that you can actually call up the Linux program directly from your start menu. Right.
Do you remember an OS called Windows?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
the
it's
group
like
of
that.
the group of people doing a lot of interesting integration in between these two systems.
Yeah, I think your lab code, you should change it to installing Edge instead of Firefox.
The Firefox,
Change the lab to
no, this
install.
is just a running, not installing.
Yeah, get them to install Edge and then the run Edge instead.
Okay, let me do some testing on which command. There's a few command in order to turn the Edge running in Kali Linux. Yeah, because by default Edge is the package is built for Ubuntu. But they are compatible. You can I can make it. I just need some testing. Right. So this basically is it's a lab for next week. Right. Feel
Awesome.
free to join us, and we will have a hands-on,
Exciting.
a very good experience, hands-on experience on installing your own Windows subsystem for Linux. Right. So let's wrap up for this today's session by explaining some of the fundamental concept for Windows subsystem for Linux. So this basically is a fundamental concept for Windows subsystem for Linux, right? So basically we have a hardware, right? Just like a normal virtualization hypervisor, right? And we actually have a hypervisor here, right? And we have the window anti-kernel and the user mode environment. Right? So this is where the window system is running and where the user is actually interact with the window OS kernel. Right? And for Linux subsystem, it actually installed on top of the hypervisor as a Linux kernel. Right? And from here, it actually run seamlessly, right, and interact in between the windows, right? So the user can actually interact between the windows and also the Linux distribution that you actually install in your Linux kernel environment. In this scenario, it's a Windows subsystem for Linux, right? So this is a fundamental concept for Windows subsystem for Linux, right? This is some of the reading material, right? So I think that's all for today. Any questions so far?
No questions. Awesome.
All right. So as
Thank
usual,
you, Cole.
there's a feedback form actually posted in the chat window. Feel free to share your feedback to us, and we shall come up something based on your feedback or your. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining. No problem. Feel free, don't remember to join me again for next week, where we actually will go through a hands-on lab for installing the Windows subsystem for Linux in the nested environment.
Thanks, Cole.
No
Very
problem.
nice.
Yeah. So
Very nice.
this is what you're going to experience next week, right? You have your own Windows 11 environment, and by following the lab guide, you are installing the Windows subsystem as well as X Window. Right. Right. So thank you and good night, everyone.
Good night. Take care. God
Okay.
bless.
Bye. Good night. Thanks, Danny. Bye. Thanks, Linus.
Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lee.
Bye, Vic.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Kaisa.
Lee. Bye,
Bye
Carissa.
bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Vic.
Vic is for MS.
Welcome.
Mm.
Welcome. Very good. Thanks, Cole.
Yeah, no
Take
problem.
care.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Take care.
We'll talk
Bye.
again tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.